Good morning and welcome. It's Sunday, December 26th in snowy Seattle on this peaceful and playful morning. Thank you to those who could be here in person. I am so impressed and grateful to be here with you. And thank you to those who are joining from home. Stay safe, stay warm, go play outside. This morning's service is going to be slightly shorter than our usual service. It was designed with our family ministry team in hopes of creating an intergenerational worship space. So for that reason, a little bit shorter. And I woke up this morning and looked outside and I'm like, I bet kids are going to make a different choice this morning. I bet kids are going to be playing in the snow. But for us, we still get to be playful and joyful in the stories. So here we go. At this point, let us start our service. Awesome. I open our worship this morning with these words from Sophia Lyon-Vaz. For so the children come. For so the children come, and so they have been coming, always in the same way they come, born of the seed of man and woman. No angels herald their beginnings. No prophets predict their future courses. No wise men see a star to show where to find the babe that will save humankind. Yet each night a child is born is a holy night. Parents, sitting beside their children's cribs, feel glory in the sight of a new life beginning. They ask, where and how will this new life end? Or will it ever end? Each night a child is born is a holy night, a time for singing, a time for wondering, a time for worshiping. Welcome to University Unitarian Church. Welcome to worship today. Would you please rise now in body or in spirit for our doxology, which will be on the screen, and then we're going to listen to more of Dwight loving on that piano. As Ari and I were planning this service together, we emailed Dwight and we're like, Dwight, what would bring you joy to play on this morning? And I feel like maybe we should be doing that more Sundays. I love this. And so I offer you a prayer and meditation. And this was one that was written by Aria, who was not able to be here this morning. But it's a hand meditation. And this is one that she'll lead with children in our religious education program. But I think you'll see that it is centering for all ages. And so this is a guided meditation, and you're welcome to follow along or simply be sitting in with your own breath and with the falling snow. But this meditation starts with a breathing exercise, and it's called the starfish meditation. And it's called the starfish meditation because we're going to trace the outlines of our hands and breathe in and out as we do so. So I invite you to hold out your hand and open it wide. Spread your fingers out like a starfish. And now using a finger from your other hand, trace up your thumb and breathe in. And down your thumb and breathe out. And breathing in. And breathing out. Up and in. Down and out. Up and in. Down and out. And up and in. And down and out. And we're going to do this a few more times. So you can keep going with your breath. And you can also settle into your own rhythm. And I'll give you a few questions in just a moment, but just for now, breathing in and out. And in. Now, as you're doing this hand meditation and following your breath, I'd like you to think about a time when someone was kind to you. Think about a time that you felt really seen by another person. Maybe it was during a time in which life was feeling really hard. And so you really recognized the kindness when it came to you. Now continuing this meditation, now think about a time you were kind to someone else. And what do you remember of the connection that was fostered between you? How were you changed by that experience? And one last question. Thinking about these two stories, what does it feel like when we experience kindness? And now, tracing your hand one last time. Up and in, down and out. And closing with one last shared breath. I close with these words from Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who we lost earlier today. He says, "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together." So each Christmas morning, since I can remember, I have found an orange and a dime in my stocking. And this is given in memory of a family Christmas from over a century ago. My maternal great-grandmother, Bertha Smoot, was divorced in 1914. And she had two young daughters at the time, ages 13 and 9, the youngest of which was my grandmother, Beth, for whom I am named. And their family lived in Wichita, Kansas at the time, 1914, which was a vulnerable place and time for a single mother of two. And in that winter, during the first Christmas after the divorce, Bertha and her two children were in the home of her brother. And as the story goes, Bertha's sister-in-law did not approve of having a divorced woman and her children in her home over the holidays, and so there was tension between them that Christmas. And so it was in this setting of rejection and of recent loss that Christmas morning arrived. And the two girls looked on as their cousins opened gifts around the tree. The divorce had left the family destitute, and there was no money to buy gifts that holiday. And this is when the miracle happened. My great-great-uncle took the girls outside, and behind the garage, away from the eyes of his wife, gave them each an orange and a dime. And this is all they received that year. Simple gifts, humble gifts, but gifts whose memory and impact endures somehow. And so when I gather with my parents and my brother later this week, and we do clergy Christmas, which comes later on, I will find the orange and the dime in my stocking, and we will tell the story, and I will relish and remember. And I will peel that orange and hold the importance of kindness, giving and receiving. The scent of the orange will fill the air, and I will breathe in the sacredness that is imbued in extending acceptance to those that society has deemed some unworthy of such basic needs as love and belonging. And as I taste the fruit, my heart will beat with both sadness and joy, remembering those sour times when I have been rejected or when I have judged others, and the life-affirming sweetness of surprise compassion. As I look back on the past 2 years and an uncertain future ahead, it is easy to feel a sense of despair. Much seems broken. The systems that we rely on, the stories we grew up with, the community bonds that shape our public life, and the untold numbers of families in which both politics and vaccinations have created deep rifts. However, even in the midst of this, I also trust that life is always more complicated, more nuanced, and that even within grief or despair, there are so many other forces at play, for there is no single story. Indeed, it is within such challenging circumstances that history tells us that people rise to new heights of compassion and courage. We seem to be geared that way as humans. And so I wonder, where have you seen compassion and action this last year? In some ways, it's been everywhere, hasn't it? Powerful things can happen when we love and are loved. When we choose to view others through the soft eyes of compassion rather than through the hard eyes of judgment. When we act to plant the seeds of reconciliation instead of furthering the building of walls that separate us from one another. And these are powerful choices and radical acts. And this is what I understand to be the core of Jesus' lived ministry. Jesus is a man of whom a lot has been said, and very little can be known. Yet, when I read the Gospels and the extra-biblical accounts about this Jewish, Palestinian peasant rabbi, there's one thing I believe we can say with confidence, is that Jesus pissed off the powers that be. His was a ministry that invited all the wrong people. His open table accepted prostitutes, tax collectors, children, and Pharisees. And his healing hands indiscriminately touched those considered unclean, untouchable, and unworthy. His ministry was one that valued people, not based on their position in society, but embraced them as hearts all whole. And this made him quite a threatening character to the temple leaders of his time. Looking at the history that surrounds the accounts, the Jewish people had been colonized for most of their history and experienced multiple diasporas, scattered again and again through this colonization process. And in the struggle to maintain clear boundaries around their cultural identity, the Hebrew people observed strict purity laws. And this was propped up at the time by a code of honor and shame. And these cultural constrictions, they shaped the social interactions of the day by separating categories of people. And so the fact that Jesus' ministry crossed these social boundaries, crossed these categories, this made him dangerous. It made him a dangerous man, particularly under the view of the Roman Empire, which was the empire at the time. Colonizing powers, both then and now, have operated under the knowledge that a people divided is a people more easily controlled. And so he was threatening in a number of different ways in his compassion. And so the gospel accounts are filled with stories of Jesus compassionately and subversively interacting with shunned people, feeding them, healing them, being anointed by them, and welcoming them into the vision of the kingdom. And it was particularly in the healing stories that this comes through, because in these stories, Jesus touches categories of people that no one was supposed to touch according to purity laws and social norms. John Dominic Crossan, a historical Jesus scholar, asks of these gospel stories, was Jesus curing the disease through an intervention in the physical world, or was he healing the illness through an intervention in the social world? Curing versus healing. Did the touch of Jesus actually miraculously cure blindness, bleeding, and leprosy? Or was it that when this teacher, this rabbi, put his hands upon these people, he began to unravel the social diseases of alienation and dehumanization? Is it possible that his miracles might have been kindness Could they have been offering the healing touch of compassion? Were the miracles merely extending a hand to people deemed untouchable, as if to say, I see you. I see you. You're worthy. You're loved. You are a child of the holy. It is a miracle that you were born. Understanding the core message of Jesus as disrupting social boundaries in the holy pursuit of reconciliation changes the interpretation some, doesn't it? To read the Gospels from such a lens is both an invitation and a challenge to go and do likewise. To go and do likewise, like my great-great-uncle did that Christmas morning, when he disregarded the social stigmas against divorced women and their children, when instead he chose to meet his family, his loved ones, the people rejected. He chose to offer them this life-affirming gift whose impact has reverberated for over a century. How could this be anything but miraculous? So each Christmas season, we are asked to give and to receive. And on this morning, I pray that we each go and do as Jesus did and recognize hearts as whole, humans as worthy. May we meet one another in the sacred fields of our shared humanity, knowing that behind every stereotype and stigma is a person worthy of touch, love, and compassion, including yourself. May we be the markers and the receivers, the makers and the receivers of the healing miracle of connection. And I close this morning with this poem from Hafiz. Admit something. Everyone you see, you say to them, love me. Of course you don't say this out loud, otherwise someone would call the cops. Still though, think about this great pull in us to connect. Why not become the one who lives with a full moon in each eye that is always saying with that sweet moon language what every other eye in this world is dying to hear? Blessings on you on this morning, blessings on this season, and Happy New Year. Our next song is a recording, Love Came Down at Christmas, by Naomi.
Love came down at Christmas. Love, our lovely love divine. Love was born at Christmas. Star and angels gave the sign. Love came down at Christmas. Love, all lovely. Love was born at Christmas. Star and angels gave the sign. be our token. Love be yours and love be mine. Love to God and all of us. Love of plea and gift and sign. Love shall be our token. Love be yours and love be mine. Love to God and all of us. Love a plea and gift and sign.
So on this morning, as you go back out into your days, I pray that you will be safe and warm, and I pray that others who are in need will find safety and warmth on this day. And if you are out playing in the snow or watching it, lean into joy. I close with these words from Howard Thurman. Now the work of Christmas begins. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart.